Hey everyone, and welcome back to my first season. My guest today worked for Club Med from 1994 to 2006. Her first season was in Club Med Sandpiper as an excursions geo, and she held other positions such as reception, ski instructor, IGO trainer, and recruitment and affectations. My trilingual guest grew up in Florence, Italy, and she has a bachelor's degree from Harvard University in Italian Renaissance art history. She now lives in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and she is here to regale us with her many, many Club Med stories. Who is this Renaissance woman? Well, it is the one and only Shehime Arshad. Shehime, how are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm great.
I did practice saying your name all day, so I hope I nailed it.
Nailed it.
What's your first name mean, if I may be so bold to ask you?
It's actually a Turkish name that means beauty of the mind.
Wow. Okay.
I'm not Turkish, but the name is.
Okay. Well, I never met another Shehime. You are truly the only one I've ever met. I guess
Thank you.
Have you ever met another?
The woman I'm named after, but that's it. It's an extremely rare name, so you probably won't ever meet another Shehime.
Oh boy, there must be a story there, but I don't want to digress from from the Club Med one. So we'll keep it to your origin story for now, because so we know you started in '94, but yeah, and I'm assuming that when you went to Harvard, like before Harvard, did you ever go to Club Med as a guest on vacation?
No, never heard of it. I had no idea what it was.
When did you first hear about Club Med?
I had graduated and I was working in a museum as a research assistant to a curator, and I really wanted to do the opposite of school. So a friend of mine said, "Oh, you should go work for Club Med or a cruise ship." And I had no idea what she was talking about. So we went into a travel agency because at the time there were still travel agencies, and the Club Med brochure, the catalog was there with all the different villages. And I was looking at the pictures and thinking, these are beautiful places and the people look fantastic. And I want to be one of them. So I applied, sent in my application, and the rest is history.
Where did you apply from?
I was here in Boston and I sent a letter to the time. It was HR was in the Sandpiper offices. So they called me up right away, and maybe 3 days after I mailed my letter, and they offered me a job to come the next day without signing a contract, without doing an interview, without doing any of that. They said, "We'll fly you down. If you like it, you sign a contract after the week is up. Okay. And if not, we'll fly you home."
This seems to be moving pretty fast for you, right?
Yeah, that was a shocker.
Okay. Yeah, I wish mine was that fast, but it wasn't. Okay, but and of course, well, Sandpiper, I guess. So were you thinking of the Caribbean or Mexico or someplace exotic? And when they said Florida, were you like, huh?
Yeah, that was when I was like kind of thinking, do I want to take this job? They want me right away. I don't know anything about it. But it was one of those gambles you take because it was cold. It was November in Boston. And I just wanted to be someplace different. I wanted to be around people my own age. And I didn't want to be inside in a library doing research. I wanted to be outside and having fun.
I think you made the right call.
Yes, for sure.
So what do you remember about arriving that first day or first week in Sandpiper? Is your memory fresh? Is it vivid?
Yeah, it is. It was, again, completely different. I did not know what to expect. And because it was so quick, they didn't tell me about things like crazy signs or shows. So I knew nothing. I just thought I was going to be a tour guide in a resort and I was going to have an opportunity to use different languages. So I got there and I got to the bar area, and people are, in some kind of a dress code, and they're talking to all the guests, which I thought was unusual. And then they did the show. And my eyes were humongous, but I thought that, yes, I'd hit the jackpot because I am not shy.
And then they did the war dancing after the show with the crazy signs, right?
Oh, yep. That was, learn pretty quickly how to do hands up.
Okay. You didn't think you were going to have to do it 17 times a day, though, right? I'm sure.
No, okay. No.
All right. So yeah, you were hoping to meet people, translate some stuff. So I think we should mention this point. You did grow up in Florence, Italy. So I mentioned you were trilingual. So you speak Italian, English, and French, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, very international. And where did you learn French?
I learned French in school, middle school, high school, but I think that because I am bilingual, having been raised in Italy, it just gives you a different ear for languages. So it was very easy for me to pick up French. But again, it was school French and not slang French, which is something that I learned at Club Med.
You learned slang French?
Yeah, I learned sort of the idiomatic expressions and learned how to just speak French all the time.
I'm wondering if you were surrounded by Quebecois geos or French geos in this first season of yours,
In
or
this
both, or
first
both.
season, it was actually French from France.
Okay,
Yeah, I got a lot of French from the guests that were coming.
all
They
right.
were all
So,
coming for Disney World primarily.
do you recall meeting your chief of village, Howard McCarley?
I do, and Howard had gone to Dartmouth, so he was very excited to have a Harvard person join his team. So he and
There was
I hit
wait
it
a
off
minute.
right away.
There was no teasing though. Doesn't Dartmouth and Harvard have a
Oh
rivalry?
yeah, of course
Okay,
there was. Of
okay,
course there was. But yeah, no, we got along. We got along very well right from the beginning.
okay. And excursion geo. So, how many excursions were you? Like, I guess was there 10? Like, I have no idea what this excursion situation was like in '94 and Sandpiper, but how many roughly did you have?
Yeah, we probably had 15 or so different excursions, and we guided about 8 of them. There were 2 of us that were actually doing the guiding. I was very lucky to work with Teresita Cuellar, who then married Nikos Stergio of the restaurant. And Teresita and I would go to Disney World and do the Magic Kingdom and Epcot. Or on a different day, we would do Universal Studios and SeaWorld, and one would do one and one would do the other, but we'd take the bus up together. Or we'd do tours to Miami, Palm Beach. I learned how to do an entire space shuttle launch in French for trips to Cape Canaveral. And then we actually would do day trips to Paradise Island and Key West by small plane.
Wait a minute. You went to Cape Canaveral?
Yep.
Wow, I didn't know that. What was that like?
Yeah, that was fun. I saw, I think, about 5 or 6 space launches during my time that I was there, and it was pretty exciting.
You saw shuttle launches?
Yeah, it
Oh
was cool.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was cool because it would the shuttle would rise, and then you could see traveling across the intercoastal waterway the sound waves, and then it would hit you, but you would see them arriving across the water before the noise hit, and that was really cool.
No one's ever mentioned this in like almost 3 years of this podcast. So you're the first to mention this. I had no idea like that was an actual excursion. It's pretty cool.
Yep, it was fun.
All right. So what else was fun about that first season? I know, I should say that, yeah. Well, I did mention you worked for many years in Club Ed, so I don't know when you wanna, because you did summer '95 also right after with Howard,
Yeah,
correct? So you stayed
yeah.
about a year, I think.
I would say closer to like 9 months I did in Sandpiper. And it was a great experience. I mean, I think what's interesting about Club Med is it's the people that make the difference. So it's the family that you choose, it's the tribe of friends that you select. And therefore, it becomes special. I think those of us that stay a long time stay because of the people that we have met. And that was definitely true for me in Sandpiper. I loved it.
Well, I'll let you steer this. You tell me what you want to talk about for the first season, because I don't know when to move on because you did so many villages. So if there's something you wanna hit in particular, you tell me, or else we can move
I will
on
say
to.
that I will say before we move on
Yes.
to the mountains, which is really where my heart ended up. What Sandpiper was special to me was because I learned how to play the game really early on. I was surrounded by some of the greats of Club Med in the 90s. The offices, like I said, the HR offices were there. So I had the regionals of what every service, whether it was the restaurant, the bar, the animation, the whatever it was, they were coming through Sandpiper. And because Teresita's then husband or Nikos was the restaurant regional, I got to meet all of them. And so I kind of got into this little category of I know what's going on behind the scenes of Club Med. And it became really special to have all of these multinational, multilingual people that have been in it a long time guiding me through, like, okay, when you get a break, take a break, because this is before we had days off. This was excursions. Luckily, we did get time off because we'd get up so early and be gone all day, so they would give us breaks, but otherwise geos were working nonstop. So learning how to take that pause and sleep, that was important, and they taught me that.
So you could nap at any time you wanted,
I
if
could.
okay,
Yeah.
so your head would hit the you're one of those, your head would hit the pillow and
Mm-hmm.
you'd be out. Wow, so
I'd be out.
jealous. Okay.
I know how to sleep on the bus. Like when you go and you put in, you're talking on the bus on your way up to Orlando, you're doing the tour, but on the way back down, you pop in a movie in French, usually Mrs. Doubtfire in French.
Oh, really?
And oh yeah, that or Beethoven in French. And then you fall asleep.
Okay. Did you ever try and do any stand up on that, Mike? Do you have some
Oh,
go-to
sure.
jokes? Okay.
Oh, yes, yes. All of that.
Okay.
Whether, yeah, yes. I ended up doing Flash Cabaret in various seasons, both in English and in French. So yes, jokes for
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I remember Flash Cabaret. That's why we can't talk about it. Okay.
That's why we can't. Nope.
Okay.
We just did it.
All right. So it's funny or ironic that you're in Boston. It's winter. They propose Sandpiper. You go. Escape the winter. But then for some reason, you willingly go to the winter. You go to Copper Mountain. Your next
Well,
season.
so they actually offered me Morea, which
Oh,
kind of weird that they would offer me after basically 2 seasons of Morea. And I said no. At the time, I thought I needed to go back to the real world. I went home, didn't want to go back to the real world. And I wanted to be where all of my friends from Sandpiper had ended up. And that by luck happened to be Copper Mountain. So I went to Copper Mountain, and they didn't have excursions in Copper. So I went as reception.
yes. And you were there with my chief of village for my first season, Jean-Pierre Grand. So he must have went to, so I did Turks and Caicos with him in 94. So this must have been one of his second villages after Turks. So
Yep.
reception geo, was that much
Yeah.
different from excursion?
Good. No, not actually. No, not really, because it's a ski resort, you get out fairly easily. It's a different rhythm when you're in a ski village. So the middle of the day, mornings and afternoons are pretty empty because everyone's out on the slopes. So we as the rest of the services could get out skiing too and hang out and have sort of a downtime. So yeah, it was similar ability to be both in Club Med and out of Club Med that excursions had. And that was a lot of fun.
Did you know how to ski before you got there?
I did.
Okay. And were
Yep.
snowboards around then?
Yep, snowboards were around. Still primarily skiing, but it was snowboarding as well. It was a family Club Med at the time. It then switched to adults, but at the time it was still family. So there were kids. There was a little mini club as well, and that's where I found my people. That is where my heart ended up.
Copper, did you say Copper started out as family and became singles?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Okay, so you were there with the families.
And then I stayed through till the end of Copper Mountain. I did every winter until it closed, pretty much. And yeah, then it switched to a.
Yeah, because after your season with Jean-Pierre, I see you took a little break to teach. Is that right?
I taught, yes, I was a therapeutic teacher, and then I went off to graduate school because I thought I was going to be a teacher, and I missed the mountains. So I went back as a ski instructor.
Okay, so I'm having a hard time fathoming this because I'm from Montreal and I would never ever do that. So I'm wondering what it must have been really special for you because you sounded like me in the beginning. East Coast winters are horrible; they last forever, right? We love the summer,
Yeah.
we love the beach, but something about I don't know the allure of the mountain or the people there really changed you, right?
Yeah, I think it was, well, first of all, you and I are used to East Coast skiing, which is ice, it's cold, it's not
Yeah.
great snow conditions, it's kind of rinky dink mountains with slow chair lifts. It's not fun. But then you head west and it is beautiful blue skies with perfect white powder snow, big wide trails, fast chairlifts, everything spread out. So it's just heaven. It's a really beautiful, beautiful environment to be in. And again, I think that pace of life that a winter village has that a summer village doesn't, with the fact that because everything revolves around skiing, there are these breaks in the day so that you can really enjoy being in the village. You can take part in doing these activities, and everyone's doing the same thing. So everyone's on that same flow.
So your second time to Copper, you're with Oreo Stern. So how different were the seasons between Jean-Pierre Grand and Oreo Stern? Was there a different energy? Because Oreo was from Brazil, correct?
Yeah, I yes and no. I think the energy, you see it in the shows and in the evenings more than anything, because again, because of the ski classes, the daytime is always the same, no matter who the chief of village is or who animation is. It's always kind of the same pace. The difference is the shows at night. And yeah, there was a difference in terms of animation and in choreography and excitement. I only did part of the season with Oreo. I was still teaching and then came in for an interim with them, so I wasn't there the full season. But yeah, it's the animation that was different.
Okay, which one of these seasons was? I don't want to give away the story yet until I find out what year it was. So you famously met Alberto Tomba. I
Yep.
assume this was at Copper. And which what do you
It
recall the
was.
season it was? Was it in
Yeah, it was my
99?
it was with Jean-Pierre Grand.
Okay, let's stop
Yeah.
for a story break. Do you mind telling everyone? Leaving out. Well, actually, there's nothing to leave out because you're probably one of the only women in the world to turn down Alberto Tomba.
I
Or
did.
tell our
Yes.
listeners who don't know who Alberto Tomba is, if you can just give us briefly who he was as.
Tomba la bomba. He was an Olympic world champion downhill skier. Also competed in all the disciplines. He was the best of the best for a time there. Italian, very sort of arrogant, womanizing, playboy skier. And he thought he was untouchable. And I spoke Italian, and no one really else spoke Italian in Club Med. So he would ask me questions, or his handlers would come to me for questions. I was working at reception at the time. And then he would flirt, and he asked to take me out to dinner. And I remember Jean-Pierre Grand and Silvio and Marie Claire de Bortoli taking me into the office and saying, you don't have to go. Like, are you going to be okay? This is Tomba. He's got his expectations. And I was like, I think I can handle him. So we went out for dinner and came back. And sure enough, he wanted me to go with him. And I said, no, just flat out no. And then the next day he came back to the reception desk and threw his gloves on the counter and said, here, have my gloves as a souvenir. And I gave them back to him and said, I have my own, thank you. And then he gave me his phone number. So I have his phone number.
Okay, wait a minute.
And
okay.
I still said no.
It's okay. It's one thing to turn down a guy who's won 5 Olympic medals, but it's another to not take the gloves. You know what those could be worth right now?
Do you know how many that was like the big debate of all the GOs after this whole situation, was whether or not I should have kept the gloves. And it ended up being a guys versus girls thing. The guys were all like, keep the gloves.
Okay. But, yeah, I'm with that. What was the girls' reason for not taking the gloves?
That I stayed true to myself, and that I didn't humble myself in any way to think that I just wanted, the fame part of it. Funnily enough, when the following year, when I was there with Oreo, the same group with Rosignol came back minus Tomba. And some of the other skiers that were there, like Tommy Moe and Tamara McKinney and Peekaboo Street, they all looked at me and they're like, you're the girl who said no to Tomba. We remember you. and they put me in their Rosignol catalog, modeling some skis and some clothes as the girl who said no to Tomba.
So that every time Alberto goes through the catalog, he has to see you, right? Okay.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Nice. What a good story. All right, good for you. I don't know if I could have done it, but hey, no. But what was I going to say? Yes. So after this season of with Oreo Stern, you thought, you know what? I want to pursue a graduate degree, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask why you went to Stanford instead of Harvard again? Is because someone told you that you should never go to the same school for 2 subsequent degrees? Is that why?
Okay, so this is the nerd part of me. I got into Harvard, Stanford, and Yale for grad school. And I decided to do, again, something completely different. And I went off to Stanford because Harvard and Yale were too similar. And it was too similar to where I was on the East Coast where my family now lived. And I just wanted to do something unique. So off I went to Stanford.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Sure.
Who was quarterback of Stanford? This is Elway. Elway is already gone, right?
Okay. Yeah, he's already gone.
Okay.
Yeah, long gone. No, it was Stanford was not very good when I was there. I was there actually when Chelsea Clinton was a student at Stanford, and so it was always kind of fun to see if the Secret Service was around, because then you knew that Chelsea was there. So you'd look for Chelsea, but then look for the Secret Service with their flat backpacks, trying to pretend to be students.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Was she in any of your classes?
No, because I was in grad school and she was in undergraduate.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So, yeah.
Interesting. All right. Okay. So now after that, then you come back to Club Med to continue at Copper?
Yeah. So I got my degree and then I was teaching again. I got a degree in education and curriculum development, and I was designing curriculum and working with the arts in education, but I missed skiing and I missed the mountains and I missed the geo team there. So I decided to come back, and I came back as a ski instructor. So I did the whole stage to become a ski instructor.
You did the stage at Copper?
Yep.
Okay. Now, is this where the infamous prank wars started, or was this any season of Copper there were prank wars?
There were always some kind of prank wars. No, the biggest prank wars happened in my third season as a ski instructor, the last season of Copper Mountain. So it would have been winter 2001, 2002. That's when the prank wars really kicked off with Angie as chief of village.
Yes, of course. Angie Boucher. Yes. That sounds right. Okay.
Yeah, and that was more guys versus girls, the whole village involved. And we had sort of battles where we would get the master key and go in each other's rooms and take clothing. And I actually ended up taking all the clothes and freezing them and then hanging them on the ski racks when people returned from ski classes. But it was all fun because at the end of the night, I organized a massive Jello wrestling event for GMs and GOs to participate in. And it was a blast. Everyone had a blast. It was in the nightclub of Copper Mountain, which it's only one building. So there's no one's going outside. You're all in one space. The only problem with that was that I used red Jello, which dyes people's skin.
Oh, okay.
So the next day, there were a lot of people that were really red.
Well, is there any color that wouldn't? I mean, green, you'd have everyone looking like the Hulk, right? I mean,
true. Maybe yellow. I could have gotten away with a bit, but nope, we only had red Jello.
In your prank wars notes to me, you also wrote ferrets. Now I'm kind of afraid and reluctant to ask you what is the ferret story clean? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So Angie, and I think you've worked with her, always had pets.
Yes.
And she had at the time a bird, but she also had a ferret. And Eric Goldberg, who at the time was our animator, chief of animation, he was also interested in the ferret. And when it was the girls' prank war, we tied up Eric to a column in front of the restaurant with his ferret in the cage next to him, so that every GM and GO on their way to breakfast would see Eric tied up to a column with a ferret.
What's the idea? I'm sorry. I know Eric. I love Eric, and I'd love to see this entrance a restaurant. But what was the gist behind it? Like, what were you trying to say? We could
just, I mean, when it was their turn, they captured me and Danny Coney. I don't know if you remember Danielle. She was a choreographer, and they put us in a cage. And they padlocked it, but then they made the mistake as they ran away saying, "You'll never figure out the combination. It's a famous war." So I just turned to Danny and I said, "It's 1812. We just opened up the lock and walked out. And the guys did not like that we left right away.
So they told someone who went to Harvard, famous war, and they didn't think you would figure it out. Okay.
Nope.
Yikes.
Okay. I know.
On behalf of those guys, I apologize. Okay. I wouldn't have said anything. Okay.
No, don't.
And what are garage parties? Was there a garage at Copper?
Yeah, there was a big garage, and it was where we held our GO parties at Copper. And it was a blast. It was usually where you would keep sort of the gestionnaire car and some of the cars for different chiefs of services, but we'd empty it out and decorate it, and no one knew where it was if you were a GM, so you wouldn't find it. But we had a lot of fun in the garage parties, and the Geo band would sometimes play at the garage parties, and it was a blast.
Oh, you had a Geo band there?
Yeah, we had a really great Geo band at Copper Mountain. Shente was part of it, and the late great Stinky Dan Ward was part of it. Eric Turner, they were our Geo band, and they were great.
Okay. Well, in between Copper, let's talk about your summer season in Paradise Island. Angie wanted you to go to, tear you away from the mountain, go to Paradise Island as so you were excursions, Geo, and IGO.
Yep.
So what was it like going back to the beach?
So when I first decided to send in a letter to Club Med to work for them, the picture that struck me the most were the pictures of Paradise Island, and I thought, I want to go here. This is the one place at Club Med that I really want to go to. And I also one day want to be in this catalog. Like other people wanted to be chiefs of villages or chiefs of services. I wanted to be in the Club Med catalog. That was my ambition. And I did. I ended up being photographed for it. So I hit my goal. But Paradise was where I wanted to be. So when Angie said, come to Paradise, I was like, well, this is my chance to go. And that was a blast. Excursions there are also a lot of fun because you're swimming with dolphins, you're going to Exuma for the day, you're doing tours of Nassau. I really enjoyed excursions there.
You're meeting the four horsemen, Joker, Luca,
horsemen.
Renato, Peter. So tell me, so you had some pretty epic prank wars with these Jokers,
Yep.
I'm guessing,
Those
right?
were, yeah. So the prank wars continued, and this turned into excursions and animation because we shared an office. Versus the sports team. So a lot of us from Copper Mountain, including some ski instructors, had all ended up in Paradise for the summer. A lot of the reception team had ended up in Paradise. So I knew a lot of the characters both on the sports team and in the other services. So it was just a continuation of what we'd started in Copper Mountain, but then it elevated. The sports team decided to move all of our furniture out into the arrivals area and into the on stage. At one point we found all of our stuff on stage or wrapped in saran wrap. They like to throw Danny, the choreographer, into the pool. They locked us up in the luggage depot area, trying to escape from that. Excursions and animation are no joke when we put our brains together. So we did the long goal, a plan that took several weeks to unfold.
Oh,
We
like a long con, you mean?
Oh yeah, the long
Okay.
con. It was brilliant. We contacted the Paris office and we had Xavier Korn send a letter to Paradise saying that he was going to come personally and tell the sports team where they were going to be affected to the following season, if they were going to get promoted and what villages they were going to go to next. And he was going to come and do that in person. It was all a lie. He was never planning on coming, but he sent the letter. So we had the sports team getting all excited about their special visitor who was coming to maybe promote Joker or Luca to chief here or there, or tell them what their next villages were going to be. They were all lined up in an evening after the show, after Crazy Signs. They were all lined up at the arrival area, dressed in their best. All the girls with cocktails, ready for Xavier to show up. And the limo pops up, and out jumps all of animation, all of excursions, dressed as chickens and ducks, and the duck dance playing at full blast. And we just danced around them and left. And the look on their faces there was some people who were like, but wait a minute, they need to move. Xavier's coming. And we're like, no, he was never coming. You guys just got played.
Those poor deers, they still didn't realize, yes. Right? They'd been had. Okay.
and the ones that did, like Joker got it right away, and his face was just one of absolute shock.
And was Barbara part of your team? Barbara Bertanza, was she?
Yes, okay. She loved it. She was fully part of this, and she was like, "Yep, let's get Joker."
She signed off, right?
Okay. Yeah, and I had Yves Godet was my chief of excursions. Yves is from Mauritius, and he looks a little bit like Tiger Woods. So another con we played was dressing him up like Tiger Woods, and faking that Tiger was coming to the village for the day. And we got several GMs and some GOs with that gag.
So you put him in a red polo, black Nike
red
hat.
Nike shirt.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Again, had him show up from outside of the village, kind of coming in. Yeah. That was
sign some autographs for the kids, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was
nice.
Good times.
Yeah. Sounds like. Yeah, I that's just where you and I just missed each other because I did the season right after you with Angie. So
yeah,
that's too bad. There was no prank. I guess the prank was toned down a bit when I was there. Nothing like what you're saying. That's so.
Well, I think once you do what we did, there was nowhere to go from there. We'd also previously, before that long con with Xavier, we had programmed their laptop to whenever you hit the space bar, it would play the duck dance. Or the chicken dance. So they were that was our theme, was the duck dance. So when they saw the duck dance and us jumping out, that's why they were. Okay. They knew it was a gag. Okay.
Those poor four horsemen. Oh boy.
Yeah, but I was there actually when they first started calling themselves that. They didn't call themselves that because the season that I was there was when they all four got together and started calling themselves the Four Horsemen.
But the Four Horsemen of what? They didn't have an ending.
So they were supposed to be. Okay. They were supposed to be the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, but they didn't want to be apocalyptic, so they were just the Four Horsemen.
Just in the disco, am I right, guys? Just kidding, guys. Okay. Never touched a drop. Okay.
No, never.
Love you, Joker. I live 5 minutes from Joker, so he'll think that's funny. Okay.
We also had a blast because it was the World Cup, and so Luca and I talk a lot about the World Cup because of obviously my passion for Italy and the Italian team, and he had it as well. So we spent a lot of time watching World Cup.
Okay. Now, Crescent Butte's beckoning you. So you did Crescent Butte about 3 times with Ryan Leach, Gus, Joey Templin. Also your IGO.
Ryan, right. So four times, the last 4 seasons of Crescent Butte.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me ask you, just because you have such good stories. So how do you go? Like you said, you went to Nashville for Country in the Rockies. I guess this was a big music festival, and you got to bring the stars back on a charter plane.
Yeah. So Crested Butte, the resort there, even before Club Med was involved, would always host Country in the Rockies, and they would also host the Jimmy Carter Foundation with President Carter. So got to meet him as well. But they would, so that continued even when Club Med took over, that these 2 events would happen. And a lot of the GO team, because especially animation, mini club, they weren't needed for these events. So some GOs would take off and actually have a week vacation and go to summer villages, but some of us stayed behind. And my job was, even though I was not part of the office team, they sent me to Nashville to pick up everyone and do their check-in before they boarded the charter plane. So I would fly back with these big donors because it was a charity event, as well as the country music stars. And that was a blast because they would start playing music on the plane and, start writing songs together and jam together. And I would explain to them what to expect at Club Med and how to join a ski class and that sort of stuff. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, give me an idea who some of these country and western stars were.
Let's see. Big and Rich, Gretchen Wilson, Willie Nelson came one year. Brooks and Dunn came one year. Clint Black and Lisa Hartman came. Kenny Loggins. Yeah, a few others. It was Jody Messina. It was great.
Now, was there extra security when Willie Nelson came? Any concerns?
Okay. No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Nope, but there's some other GOs who probably have some better stories with him than I do.
Yeah. Did you ride by his bus?
Yes. So I don't have those stories.
Oh, okay. God. Oh, so he did. Yeah. Mine. I heard his tour bus is legendary. Okay.
Exactly. No, my story is Kenny Loggins got to serenade me.
Oh, yes. Please tell me this because I love me some Kenny Loggins.
Yeah. Kenny Loggins, the song Maria from West Side Story?
Yes.
He changed the words to Shehime.
No.
And sang at the top of his lungs that song. It was pretty great. And that was on stage at Club Med, so everyone got to hear it.
What's the main line on that? How do you something about Maria? How do you?
No. I met a girl named Maria.
So that he said, I met a girl named Shehime.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's that like?
That was one of those again, this is kind of before we had the iPhones that we have now.
Yes.
So it wasn't recorded. So it's the blessing and the curse of not having the technology. Like, I'm so glad that there's a lot of things that were never recorded or photographed, but there's also times when you wish they were, and this is one of them. I wish that we had a video of that, but we don't.
Do you even have a picture of it?
No, I don't even have a
Oh,
picture with him.
oh God.
Just
Okay.
it's a story that I know happened.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Come on, it's
Yeah,
Kenny Loggins, man.
I
Footloose.
know.
Danger Zone. Okay.
Yeah, I know. But he did sing Danger Zone. Like, there was a lot of us GOs that were
Oh,
waiting for that moment to happen. Footloose was great, but nothing like Danger Zone.
oh wow, man. Yeah, no, I would have lost it if I heard him sing, if I was there and he sang Danger Zone. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was it was really special those weeks, the Nashville weeks and the Jimmy Carter event.
Okay. And you also, is it true that you closed both Copper and Crested? Like you were there for the
Yeah,
closings?
yeah. So by the time I kind of finished up my Club Med career, I was also helping out with the offices. And I think we'll probably touch on that in a minute, but I closed out Copper Mountain. We just basically shipped everything to Crested Butte, so that was very quick, and you didn't have to do a lot. But Crested Butte, we had to go through everything, and it was just myself and Victoria John, and that's it. And in a giant resort that was all closed down, and it looked like The Shining, and it was just two of us, and it was really scary. But I kept getting really sentimental and looking at like the wooden carved bears on the bar and saying, "Oh, I wish I could take that with me. That carved bear means so much." But yeah, I was like walking with ghosts. It was pretty intense to shut those down.
So, so most of the people had gone, and you were like some of the
Well,
last two
this
left.
was no, the village had closed for the summer,
Oh,
and then they decided not to reopen it. So they flew us back out there in, like, I don't know, August, July, August, to empty it. Just the two of us.
wow. So, but you didn't go around a quarter and see two girls dressed in 1800 attire, right? Saying, "Will you play with us?" You didn't see anything like that, right?
No,
Okay,
no, but
good.
I could
Okay.
have.
Okay.
It was that spooky.
Wait. Let's go back to Paradise then, because Paradise is famous for ghost stories. Did you have any experience or not at all? I didn't have any. Did you?
I had none. No,
Okay. Were
no.
people that worked there with you did or
Yeah,
no?
there was a
Okay.
couple people who would say things about Grayleaf, but I didn't
Mhm.
have that.
Okay. Me neither. I feel robbed
No.
in that
Yeah.
regard.
Well,
All right.
didn't have that experience. That's okay. I don't need to see a ghost.
No, 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 no. Don't. All right. So around, yeah. So fall. Well, yeah. You mentioned the offices, so you get involved with recruitment and affectations out of the Miami office, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you roomed with one young Kate Ferguson. Is this true?
I did. I worked with Mary Thomas and lived with Kate Ferguson. And I got to work with Thomas Somley when he was the head of HR, and Alicia Sim and Antonio were the other people. And that was our little team. And we had a blast. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of
Okay.
fun to find the geos, place the geos, discuss what the geos should or shouldn't be doing. And then when the hurricanes hit, we had to get the geos out of whatever village they were in and also hold their parents off. And that was something else.
What do you mean hold their parents off?
Well, their parents were like, "Where's my child? Where's my child? Get me my child." But of course, there was no communication. And you didn't want to tell them that not only had we evacuated Cancun, but they were just fine inland in a hotel having a party where their parents were just, worried sick, not knowing where their children were. But
Wow, no one
we
ever
got
called
everyone
me.
out.
No one ever called me for the 6 or 7 I went through. Jeez. Okay. Well, wait, before we go
Yes,
on, settle this debate, decades long debate. Kate Ferguson, tidy roommate, yes or no?
absolutely.
Okay, good. Okay, that's what I thought, but I heard other things, but never mind. Okay, kidding. Kate.
No, she was very tidy. She was very into fitness at the time. So after working, she was doing Aikido at the time.
Really?
So yeah, she was
Wow.
way into her martial arts.
Don't want to mess with her.
Yeah,
So
but
she's
I
a
will tell you that she needs a cup of coffee every morning. If she does not have her cup of coffee, She's a little puddle on the floor, an
Okay.
emotional mess.
Okay. So you know not to talk to her before the coffee, right?
No,
So if she's a
no.
tidy one, did that make you the messy one?
Oh, definitely.
Okay. And you also said that one summer, I think summer 2006, you helped David Mayer and Turks with the Renault. So the Renault group came. Did they buy out the
Yeah.
village?
Yeah, it was a buyout. And again, there were a lot of different geos who I knew and Turks at that point. David and I were good friends. And I was at the in the offices and he just said, "Hey, can you come over? There are a lot of them that are Italian and I need help with translating." So just whenever he would do his intros or talk to the big groups and do his welcomes, he would have me translate it into Italian and then just be in the village to help with any language issues that might have come up.
And how did that
So
go overall?
that was
It was a
fun.
good week. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a good week. It was good times.
I forgot to ask you two stories about I think it was your first season. Do you mind if we go back a sec? Because I
No, not
really,
at all.
when I hear a story that's condensed to stranded on the highway with 11 French lawyers, I'm going to kick myself if I don't ask you about it. So can you explain how you were stranded on the highway with 11 French lawyers?
It was my very first day. So I had arrived let's say on a Friday and on a Saturday. So I haven't even been in the resort for 24 hours at Club Med. Mary Lee Sanders, who was the regional for excursions at the time, was training me. And she said, "Okay, we're going to SeaWorld tomorrow and get up early. And we have 11 French lawyers. They're doing a group bonding activity and we're taking them to SeaWorld in two vans." And so off we went, but both vans broke down right next to each other. And so we were stranded literally for about 3-4 hours on the side of the Florida Turnpike with 11 French lawyers waiting to get to SeaWorld, which we never got to. And that's where my French kicked into a whole different gear because they didn't speak a word of English. And we had to make conversation for 3 or 4 hours with lawyers after a bus breakdown. So yeah, I learned French fast.
This sounds like a setup for like a lawyer joke, right? Doesn't it? Like,
Yeah, it does. I know,
okay,
but
okay.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I
Uh,
also forgot to mention you had I guess a minor bus accident. No one got hurt
mm,
returning from Disney World, correct?
yeah, that one was. I know. I had transportation issues in Florida. The bus went off the side of the road into the swamp, and we were at an angle in the swamp, so they couldn't take us off the bus very easily. And because we were so far into the swamp, they had to build a bridge to get us out. So that took a long time so that we could get over crocs and snakes and any other gators or ants or whatever it was that they were worried that we would get involved in. So took a little while for them to build a bridge to rescue us, but then once they did, we made it safely back to Sandpiper, and I held it together. I mean, I was 22 at the time, and when you're responsible for lots of little kids and their parents, and you're worried that someone could be hurt because it could have been serious, but it wasn't. You hold it together. You kick into a whole different gear. And then when I got back to the resort, I fell apart. Howard was there. Remy, Guillaume Gentil was my chief of excursions at the time. So Howard, Remy, Steve Cohn, Teresita, of course, and the guy I was seeing at the time, they all took me into the office and they had lined up every single alcohol you can imagine there. And they're like, "If you need a shot, whatever you want, it's right here." And I think I burst into tears at that point.
So it seems like this is something like going to any school, let alone Harvard, doesn't teach you, right? Like when you're when
Nope,
you're thrown in a situation like that.
nope, nope. But if you're going to handle things, I guess it tested the ability to handle situations. And the
Well,
answer is yes,
yeah,
I can handle it until I'm
yeah,
home safe.
yeah. Once you're in, crocodile, alligator infested waters, then anything else after that, right? Prank war with Joker, bring it on, right? I mean,
Bring it on. Yes. The more creative, the better.
all right. Well, you had such an amazing career. I do like to know, or would like to know, who you enjoyed working with. Is there anyone that stood out for you, whether it was a chief of village, chief of service, GO? I mean,
I think for me, I got really lucky with my chiefs of services in particular because I really loved who I worked with on my teams, and that made a difference. So many people meant a lot to me, but the ski team in particular will always be special. So whether it was Gilles Wagniers or Stéphane Decobert, who were running the ski school, Victoria, of course, Lynn Johnston, some of our Paula Fishman, so much fun with Paula. Paula and I are like sisters. Yeah, just great people, wonderful people.
And do you still go back to Club Med? Like, do you go for reunions or for vacation at all?
No, no,
No.
I
Oh,
think that the magic was those seasons, and if it's possible to recreate that, then great. But I still am in touch with a lot of my Club Med friends: Maggie Cunningham, Michelle Flynn, Mark Ogawa, Shannon Brown. Like we are still in touch. Robel, that's someone you should talk to sometime. Robel Teklamariam and his Olympics experience. I helped him with that.
say that name again.
Robel Teklamariam was a ski instructor, but he competed for Ethiopia in cross country skiing, and I helped him with getting his Olympic bid going.
Okay, hold up.
Um,
Just is this sounds like a Cool Runnings type of thing where Jamaica had a
it
bobsled. So
totally
Ethiopia
was
has a cross countries.
100%.
Okay. Okay, I did not know that. All right, because I was about to ask you where is he from with a name like that, because that's an unusual name. So you answered it. Okay, that's pretty cool. I did not know that. Wow. Right.
Ethiopia by way of Lake Placid, New York. But
Oh,
yes,
okay, got it. All right. So is there one thing you miss? I mean, you've had time to think about it. Winter's coming, so I tend to miss a lot more when winter comes around. Is there anything you miss? Was it the shows, the food, the people?
definitely the people. I miss the food. It was so nice to have that food. In particular, the croissants and the bread. Oh my goodness, the bread.
White chocolate bread?
It was not my favorite. No,
Oh, okay.
I was the croissant definitely, and their baguettes. But yeah, just the food, the ability to have that much variety at your fingertips was pretty great. I miss the languages. I miss being able to talk to people from all different walks of life in every kind of language, and I do miss the mountains. I do miss Copper and Crested Butte. Those were special places. I wish they were still around and that people could experience those villages.
Yeah, you seem like that was a very, very fun time of your life, right? The ski
Yeah,
villages.
absolutely. And the
Okay.
people that because again, when you're a ski instructor, you're coming year after year. It's the same instructors, and they're all sort of older. So it was a more mature geo crowd, and again, seasoned vets.
Awesome. Okay, Shahima, we are coming to the end of the interview, but like I always do, I like just take a moment to ask you if there's something I forgot to ask you or something you wanted to say, something you wanted to add.
Yeah, I would add that one of the main reasons that we as a ski team and that why Crested Butte and Copper Mountain were so important was that we tragically lost two of our instructors to a car accident in one of my seasons, Daniel Stinky Ward and Chantal Boyer, and they had just been married. And so it was a very tragic moment, but I think it bonded those of us in the mountains so closely together that it just became even more of a family when you go through something like that we stayed in touch and we continue to stay in touch. I think I hear from the ski instructors of Copper and Crested Butte all the time, and it's a lovely, wonderful feeling.
Sounds like you have quite the bond.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, looking at the notes you sent me, you graduated Harvard, weren't ready for the real world yet. So, are you glad that you did it? You don't seem to have you don't seem to be someone with regrets by talking to you, but I assume that you're glad you took the plunge.
Absolutely. I think that it was on a total whim without a lot of thought going into it, but I am so glad I did it. I would encourage anyone and everyone to try something that pushes them out of their comfort zone, to try and do something off the beaten path that gets you outside, working with people your own age, trying different languages, travel somehow as a part of it. It teaches you so much more. I think I one at one point I got hired for a job and I asked them if it was because of my education, and they said, of course your education helps, but really it was Club Med because it's such a breath of fresh air, and it shows that you're someone who can work in all kinds of conditions, very long hours with all different types of people. And I think that's a real blessing that Club Med has given all of us.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. That's cool.
Yep.
All right.
True.
And would you recommend it for someone who was, maybe on the fence about applying? Should they try it for 6 months or a year?
Sure. Why not? I don't know what the Club Med is like now, but why not? There's nothing wrong with trying anything. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but try it.
That's right. Well said. Well said. Well, Shehime, you've been so kind with us, sharing your stories. I really do want to thank you for that and for saying yes to this experience. So believe me, I really do thank you. I really
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
No,
Thank you.
this has been awesome. It's so nice to finally talk to the person I've been hearing about for so many years. Via Joker.
It's a trip down memory lane, and I love it.
Yeah. Yes. Oh no, this has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
Now,
you.
here's the part where we say goodbye to all our listeners. If you'd like to say goodbye for us.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Take care, everyone. See y'all next week with a new episode. Bye.
Bye.